Simon, we have now heard from Ivan Toney, the Brentford striker, of course, who has had a great season on the football pitch. Fantastic season. Was a big part of why Brentford enjoyed the success in the Premier League that they've enjoyed. The Brentford striker banned, having said all that, from all football activity until January of next year, and fined 50 grand last month after admitting 232 breaches of the FA's betting rules over a 4-year period. News of the investigation into Toney's historical betting surfaced on the eve of Southgate naming his England squad for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. And of course, Toney was omitted from that squad in November. The FA's chief executive, Mark Bulliam, insisted at the time the striker had not been chosen for sporting reasons. So it was other reasons. So Ivan Toney has spoken for the first time. He's broken his silence on the football ban. He's been speaking on the Kick Game YouTube channel. Let's get a flavour of what he's saying. And of course, basically, he's having a gripe here that this all get into the public domain because it shouldn't have got into the public domain at that particular time. Listen to this.
Certain things people try and break people down, innit?
Yeah.
From how it come out just before the England camp, obviously missing out on the World Cup, like that would have been the biggest dream for me to do.
Yeah.
I think in a way it's kind of like get out now so you don't go to England, and then all of a sudden they want to wait until the end of the season to do the kind of things. But listen, it is what it is. If they wanted to do it that way, and I call it a bit spiteful, but it is what it is. But you just got to get on with it. But yeah, I feel like that was a bigger punishment, even though I'm missing eight months of football, but I feel like that was a bigger punishment. Miss out on the World Cup, everybody's dream.
Yeah.
To actually missing that 8 months of football. I believe in myself and I hopefully can be at the next one.
So that's part of his gripe, Simon. The missing out on the World Cup, the timing of this, and he calls it spiteful. Where do you stand on this? Because the lack of contrition here comes over to me. That no, hang on. I want to hear more from Ivan as to what once he's on this topic. He didn't do this interview with the Kick Game YouTube channel and this discussion specifically, obviously, on the betting ban, but there was more to do with how well he's played in the season, and he has. But shouldn't we be hearing a different tone from Ivan Toney?
Well, the panel heard a different tone, I suspect, because that's what got him out from probably a much far more significant ban. The panel heard, after telling them some untruths, he decided to tell them the truth, to acknowledge the issues, and ultimately to talk to them potentially about his addiction. All in all, which resulted in a far different situation in terms of the ban that he could have got. Now, do we then think that once he's got his ban, that he needs to go on and be contrite? Well, there's a case for it, because ultimately, if we want Ivan Toney to be the poster boy for people not to do the wrong things, then that would be perfect for that agenda. If he wants to talk about people being spiteful and the leak of it, well, leaks happen all the time. They're not ideal.
Of course.
But by whom and who's being spiteful? The main thing that got Ivan Toney into the problems that he has is Ivan Toney and the decisions that he made over a sustained period of his career. I am an Ivan Toney admirer. I am someone that wants to see him operating at the highest level. I was a major advocate for him being in the England squad. Gareth Southgate has come out and spoken about the challenges that he believes exist for Ivan Toney as a result of the ban, and how he believes it should be handled differently. And then he actually got some information after that, which told him the actual length and breadth of the things that Ivan had done.
Yeah,
I would think that the least Ivan Toney says about this, the better it will be, because I think
for his own good.
Well, I think so. If you're not going to accept the fact that you are absolutely complicit in your own behaviour.
He's still hurting though, isn't he? But he has to take responsibility for what he's done though, Jim, because he's broken those betting law rules. And the thing is also, he's been betting on games that he's been playing in, and effectively how that works is, obviously if he wins the game, then he gets a win bonus, and he profits from that. I don't know what the win bonus is these days. It could be between 500 to 1,000. It's an amount that's paid to each player if they win. There's a draw bonus, a win bonus. He's betting on, he's spreading that bet by betting on the team he's playing against. Because if he doesn't win the game, he still wins financially.
But Martin, all this and missing out the World Cup.
Well,
and he's saying the timing of it and the way it came out and when it came out meant he'd miss out in the World Cup.
Yeah,
and
so
calls
that's
that a
something
bit
new.
spiteful.
That's something new, because obviously we thought it was down to the quality of his play, and now we're being led to believe it wasn't.
But
that's something that needs ironing out.
At the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was alleged at the time.
Yeah.
This was something that was already in the public domain, that suggesting that the reasons why he wasn't picked for the World Cup was because of the situations surrounding the challenges the FA may have. So that would mean that Gareth Southgate has no, because you like all these people to have so much authority, has no authority about who he picks, and has no control over the playing squad. Actually, Mark Bullingham picks the England players, and the FA pick the England players, and nothing to do with the fact that Ivan Toney may not have been meeting the expectation that Gareth Southgate
did
had.
pick him before and after
And
the
didn't
World
play
Cup
him.
squads, didn't he?
He picked him before the World
He
Cup.
didn't pick him in the World Cup, but then subsequently he's booked him before.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that, are we? We're
but-
talking about his attitude towards the World Cup squad. So let's focus on what we're talking about. He picked him before the World Cup, and we all had a moan about what was the purpose of putting Ivan Toney in the squad when you didn't even give him a run out. And then he didn't pick him for the England squad. So Ivan Toney is now conflating that and turning that into an argument that's based upon the fact that somehow he is the victim of his own behaviour.
Well, that's right. Which adds to your assertion, Simon, that he should maybe economise in words at this particular
I think
time.
if he's not going to follow the required narrative that certain segments of the media will want, right, which is that ultimately he needs to apologise unreservedly for this, and he needs to be a shining example. And I do think a very clever argument that Darren McElhenney put forward the other day which was a fine or a sanction based upon what he was prepared to put back into society. So give him a 2-year ban and reduce it to 8 months if he's prepared to go and speak to schools and go and speak to
How do you
young
feel
footballers.
on just being banished in terms of he's not allowed to train, he's not allowed to work, be anywhere near his colleagues? How do you feel about that?
I don't have a view on it either way. I think that if you want people to take things seriously, then you need to take serious decisions with them. And as a tendency in football, there isn't a tendency for people to take their responsibilities particularly seriously at times, and they get away with things because they're good players. Now, I don't know whether it's right or wrong to banish him, whether it should have just been the fact that he cannot play football and ultimately he can continue to train. Now, we all know he can go across to the far-flung corners of the globe and get the best trainers to work with him because he's got fortunes of money to be able to do
but
it.
for his mental health, though, this age of mental health as it is, do you think there's any real benefit?
Do you
think there's any real benefit in him not being able to be around his colleagues?
If you want to play the mental health card, if you want, in order to have character in life and integrity, you have to accept.
Sometimes it's not a card, is it?
Well,
Sometimes
let me
it's actual
explain.
reality.
Well, if you want to advance it as a notion into the player welfare mentality, if you want to build characteristics that are worth having in society, which is fortitude and resilience, then one of the things you have to do is accept your shortcomings and your failings. And if that means that ultimately taking the responsibility for your actions and the consequences is you do it in the way that you should, then that leads to the path which gives you character. And that's what real men should be cut from.
Let's see if we get a different take on Tony's tone, if you like, because he does go on further in this one. He was asked if football has to do more to address its relationship with gambling.
I feel like it should. And obviously, like for the people out there, they're painting me this certain picture of me, which is fair enough. They can go off what they want to see, but people that know me know how I am and know what I'm about. And the fact is, like you said, majority of football teams now are sponsored by gambling companies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like weigh it up. But
It's like a double standard.
yeah, literally. I'm not saying if that's the rules, don't be betting. Yeah, you shouldn't be betting. But for people that need help, there should be more around that to stop them from leading towards that direction or whatever. But when the time's right, I'll speak out on majority of things and clear a few things up.
You know, for people who need help, stop them going in that direction, Martin. So is he categorising himself as one of them, as he should be doing?
I think he's going into dangerous ground, and I think you can tell there's still a bitterness around him, and it feels obviously that he's called all of his character into question because of this slip up that he's made with this betting. I think he needs to take the medicine that he's now having to take and come back stronger, fitter, quicker, better. And Jim, if you were to take the goals out of there, I mean, this is interesting with the FA, the timing of why they waited to the end of the season, being cynical in all of this. I don't know whether they wanted. I didn't know why they wanted to keep him available for an England selection, but why wasn't it dealt with far sooner? But if they'd have lost those 20 goals,
Probably because his lawyers were arguing it.
Well, just for 1 minute, if we
some would say the 3-month pre-season is actually in his favour.
And that's an argument, Martin.
It is, and I suppose halfway through a season you can't really change it if you've played against Ivan Toney and suffered, as Arsenal probably did.
So the FA are in cahoots with Brentford now.
No, I'm just asking the question: is why did we have to wait until pretty well the end of the season. And why did we wait completely to the end of the season? So it was actually the same for everybody else. Okay, Brentford did really well without
because
him.
there's a process that when you charge somebody with something, what happens, Martin, is when you charge somebody with something, you normally have to go to court, and it normally takes a passage of time. And if you dispute that, and it's a situation that's not a legal framework, i.e., it's within inside the industry, there'll be a time when you have to follow the process, which is why Man City are able to do it. But when you listen to what he's saying, so by definition, the fact that there's a gambling sponsor on his shirt is the predominant reason why he's chosen to be gambling. So if I put an IKEA logo on his shirt, I'm assuming he's going to buy all his furniture from IKEA. It's nonsense. Ivan needs to move past the situation where it's somehow other people's fault that it was leaked.
I agree.
Other people's the fact there's betting and around the football community is the reasons why he behaved in the way he did. If he wanted to bet, which I don't necessarily think he should have been doing full stop, but if he wanted to bet, he didn't have to bet on what he did. He didn't have to bet on the goals that he would score and the outcomes. He could have bet on 1,000 things. He decided, like footballers often do, that the rules don't apply to them. They will do precisely what they want. And when the consequence comes, there'll be 1,000 reasons, a myriad of reasons why someone shouldn't own their own behaviour.
Yeah.
And tragically, in every other walk of life, you have to own your behaviour. And what Ivan should be best served doing now is getting his head down, because no doubt he'll be on his bike out of Brentford quicker than a quick thing from Quickland when the opportunity comes, off to somewhere else to find the opportunities for him.
Yeah,
He's been a great part of their story, though. I
Yes,
just
indeed.
wanted
we know that,
I just
Mark.
wanted to
We know that.
reiterate, you take his 20 goals away, they come 15th in the table instead of 9th. He's a top player, by the way.
He's a top
Let's
player,
let's
no doubt.
Of course, we'd agreed on
and
that.
People make mistakes.
Yeah.
People make mistakes, but it's how they come back.
232 of them. If you make a mistake once, then you're slightly, it's bad luck. If you make it
This
twice, you
was
start to be a fool.
This was 2017, 2018.
No,
I'm
no.
not saying it was a long while ago.
and that's
Well,
fine.
what he
In
is
a
saying,
very
Martin,
young
is
man's
at
life.
the end of his statement, at the end of this interview, but what he does say is when the time is right, I'm going to speak out the majority of things and clear a few things up. They need to be cleared. That is not now, though, unfortunately. Maybe a few people would suggest to Ivan, maybe not do that at all.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.